Number 8. Corsica Roman Burial Jars. A group of archaeologists in Corsica, Italy, were working at the Paule de Ilerose Square when they uncovered a necropolis with 40 bodies buried underneath it. Even though the area had been excavated during the 18th century, it wasn't until a team of French archaeologists set out to locate hidden treasures under the commune of the Ileruse in 2019 that they made the discovery. Experts really only expected to find the remains of ancient buildings. Instead, they located the bodies of both children and adults. But these were no ordinary graves. Instead of being buried in a classic traditional coffin or sarcophagus, the bodies were placed inside amphora, which are tall clay jars with 2 handles and a narrow neck. In the Lower Empire, necropolises like the one found in Corsica were usually located next to a church, so it makes the discovery that much more surprising, considering the area was a popular destination for those who came to visit the square with its shady palm trees at the Riviera-style resort. This type of burial became popular in the Roman world because the demand for graves had increased, and amphora were an inexpensive way to bury the dead. But how did the ancient Romans obtain so many of these clay jars for burials? Amphora were produced from the 3rd century into the 6th century in Africa and were used to import goods such as wine, oil, or salted fish to the island. Because merchants didn't take the clay jars back with them when they returned to their point of origin, Corsica ended up having a surplus of ceramics, using them to store various items, and eventually, they also became makeshift tombs. The unique burials might seem like a gruesome way to bury the dead, but the infant mortality rate in Roman times was high, which meant that a large quantity of amphora were needed to give them proper burials. Number 7. Chimu sacrifices. Teams digging close to Peru's 3rd largest city made the gruesome discovery of the world's largest child sacrifice site. While digging near the beachside town of Trujillo, archaeologists excavated 227 young victims of the Chimu culture. Aged between 4 and 14, the children were found facing the sea, which experts think may indicate they were sacrificed to appease the El Niño phenomenon, which would have impacted the local coastline and endangered the ancient people. The bodies were found at the site of Huanchaco, which had been well known as a place where many cheeky sacrifices took place between the years 1200 and 1400. The group of ancient people believed that by placating the gods to have mercy and safeguard them from rain and floods, the Chimu people had to sacrifice their children during wet weather. Even though experts found important artifacts including silver earrings, they also found the children's footprints had remained intact, with signs they were marched to their deaths from a massive ancient adobe site a mile from where they were buried. After carefully removing the remains, archaeologists found the telltale signs of ceremonial knife wounds on the bodies, as well as dislocated rib cages that may mean the Chimu tried to remove the children's hearts before sacrificing them. Sadly, the sacrifices didn't seem to make much of a difference. The region is still devastated by the effects of El Niño to this day, making the ritual sacrifices of so many children that much more devastating. Number 6. Kengo Temple. Located near the city of Cusco, an Incan archaeological site known as the Kengo Temple has been whispered about for decades. Located at the temple there is a monolith, a single block of stone cut into a defined shape. It was declared a cultural heritage site by the National Institute of Culture in Peru. The secret to the design of the monolith can be found in the temple's name, which means labyrinth. Because the Inca left no written records, researchers had to guess why the stone at the Kengo Temple was cut into a zigzag shape. And as researchers continued to study the site, they determined the giant stone labyrinth may have been used to carry liquid. But the type of liquid still remains a mystery. Some believe it could have been used for holy water or maybe even corn beer made by the Inca. A more gruesome theory is that the Kengo used the labyrinth during blood sacrifices, allowing the blood to transfer down the tiny canals during death rituals performed by the ancient people of Cusco. Located about 3 miles from Cusco, around 12,000 feet above sea level, the monolith's ceremonial purpose becomes even more plausible when you consider the fact that the dead might have been judged at the site, with some even embalmed in the many chambers and tunnels found in the temple. Experts believe one of the interior niches of the structure may have been used as an amphitheater where the ancient Inca may have gathered to witness sacrifices to either the moon or the sun, two planets worshipped by the Inca at the time. Although experts have not confirmed that the monolith at Kengo was used for sacrifices, much of the evidence points to that as the purpose of the site. Without any written records, researchers continue to guess at the purpose of the site and whether it was for ritualistic purposes or simply an area where the ancient Inca gathered. What do you think this labyrinth-like shape was used for? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you like this video, click the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 5. Temple People of Malta. A group of people from Malta, known as the Temple People, have been the subject of study for centuries. As archaeologists continue to excavate the burial complexes they left behind, they are trying to piece together the mystery of why these people survived for so long, only to suddenly vanish. During the excavations, researchers discovered evidence that the settlers from Sicily arrived in the area, bringing goats, cows, sheep, and crops to develop their villages. Objects left behind by these ancient people included phallic shapes and fertile figurines as symbols of sensuality. They also developed an obsession with building temples, some of which ended up surviving long enough to become the oldest freestanding stone structures in the world. They erected more than 30 temple complexes over their 1100-year history, including intricate burial complexes where lavish rituals of animal sacrifice were undertaken. The Temple People were also known for their elaborate artwork, including hundreds of statues of fertile, quote-unquote, fat ladies among the rich cultural artworks left behind. One of the underground burial complexes, known as the Shara Stone Circle, is estimated to have housed between 6,000 and 7,000 individuals in its heyday circle, and took over a decade for experts to study. While excavating the burial practices of the Temple People, experts discovered that they often buried their dead deep inside natural caves where they lived, with the bones of one generation placed on top of the others. As the culture developed, the burial complexes were modified by being extended and divided into rooms for additional burials. Later, large pits that housed hundreds of individuals whose bones were separated, stored, and stacked on top of one another became a strange new way for the Temple People to bury their dead. One of the most striking revelations came when experts discovered a grave pit that housed only male body parts. There were no grave gifts left in the pit, leading experts to believe the society was more of a matriarchal one with women ruling over men. With such a rich culture of art, sculpture, and unique burial rituals, we can't help but wonder why the Temple People had such a rich cultural history only to eventually vanish. Some experts believe that their remote island environment, along with their reliance on trading with other cultures for goods, may have been their ultimate downfall. What do you think? Number 4. Lost Iraqi Temple. Experts working in the Kurdistan region of northern Iraq were surprised to find life-size human statues and the column bases of a long-lost temple built to a supreme god. Dating back over 2,500 years to the Iron Age, the temple ruins were found with inscriptions that referred to the city of Musasir, who ruled the region at the time in what was nicknamed the City of the Raven. Inscriptions also reference Haldi, who was the supreme god of the kingdom and who the temple was built for. A carving at the site showed the ancient city looking very much like modern Iraqi homes, with their doorways on the ground floor, which was used as a stable and storage area. As archaeologists continued to excavate around the long-lost temple, they found a number of life-size human statues standing up to 7.5 feet tall. They were made from limestone or sandstone, depicting bearded males, some of whom held daggers in their hands. The statues were originally erected above burials, which experts hope might eventually help them to locate burial crypts where the Iraqis were believed to bury their chieftains. Other interesting finds at the location include bronze statuettes and cuneiform inscription that researchers are continuing to study. They hope to learn more about the holy city founded in bedrock during the Iron Age, a time when the Urartians, Assyrians, and Scythians fought over what is now northern Iraq. Number 3. Ancient Buddhist Temple. Could an ancient Buddhist temple discovered in Bangladesh belong to a mysterious saint? An archaeological team of Bangladeshi and Chinese experts worked together to uncover a 1,000-year-old temple in India that was dedicated to Atish Dipankar, who was a Buddhist master, scholar, and philosopher. Experts believe the temple was discovered where the saint was worshipped before he traveled to Tibet. The temple was located in an area that was busy and prosperous during the time Atish Dipankar taught there. Researchers unearthed a number of samples from what they believe is one of the oldest archaeological sites in India during a 50-day excavation. Pits filled with ash and pottery will help them with radiocarbon dating, while the discovery of the remnants of 2 roads and a 9.8-foot-tall wall showed they were once part of a wealthier area. Another remarkable discovery made at the site were a series of stupa, which were spiritual sites that contained relics of the Buddhist faith. The stupa complexes contained burial mounds built between the 10th and 11th century. Previously, archaeologists discovered a mound in the shape of an octagon that was very similar to larger octagon-shaped mounds located in previous digs. A rare memorial chamber in the center of the mound was a significant discovery, one that was important to Buddhist disciples as a place to practice their religion. As archaeologists continue to excavate and preserve these historical treasures, including the first protective wall built over the entire settlement, the State Minister for Cultural Affairs hopes to develop the area as a tourist spot to share the important historical discoveries. Number 2. Mayan Ritual Caves. When archaeologists went diving in a Mayan cave that had been untouched for 1,000 years, they were stunned by what they found. A cache of ritual vessels were found inside the Jaguar God Cave in Yucatan, and researchers believe they may hold clues to the rise and fall of the Mayan Empire. The discovery was made beneath the ancient Mayan city of Chichen Itza, where a treasure trove of more than 150 ritual objects were located. The cave system known as the Jaguar God was originally discovered in 1966 by an archaeologist who wrote up a report saying that he had found an extensive amount of archaeological material inside. But instead of excavating the site, he had the entrance sealed, and soon after, records of the discovery vanished. More than 50 years later, a group from the National Geographic, explorers who were researching the water table beneath Chichen Itza, rediscovered the hidden cave system. Investigators had to get creative to reach the site by crawling on their stomach through the tight tunnels for hours to reach the underground caverns. When they did, their efforts were rewarded with well-preserved offerings by the ancient residents of Chichen Itza, including incense burners, vases, decorated plates, and other objects found surrounded by stalagmites that had formed around them. Many of the objects were emblazoned with the face of the rain god Tlaloc, as well as the sacred tree that was a representation of the Maya universe. Caves and cenotes were considered an opening to the underworld and were highly sacred spaces for the Maya. The fact that they were in such a difficult location and the number of artifacts found points to the importance of the site. Number 1. Orkney Island Spheres. Two 5,500-year-old polished stone spheres, the size of a baseball, were discovered in an ancient tomb north of mainland Scotland in the Orkney Islands. The balls vary in their design, with some ornately carved and others studded with projections. Some have also been found that are smoothly polished without any carvings or other distinctive features. The strange thing is, hundreds of similar stone balls have also been found in Neolithic sites in Scotland, England, Ireland, and Norway. Originally, they were believed to be used as weapons, though some believe they were used with ropes and lobbed at enemies for protection. But as archaeologists continue to study these strange stone balls, opinions have changed, with some thinking they were made to signify a person's status in their community or to commemorate an important part of their life. Although they may seem like simple objects, it would have taken a long time to polish the stone with water and another smaller stone to smooth the surface. Normally, the balls have been found separately, but this time, they were discovered in the corners of two different underground compartments where human remains were buried, along with their objects like pottery. Interestingly, cremated human bones were found near the entrances to the Orkney Island tomb. Is it possible the ancient people of the island used these knives to separate the flesh from the bones of the dead who were buried there? Archaeologists still don't know the answer and continue to study the objects to determine their usage. But it's a race against time, as the tomb, located near the coast, is vulnerable to storms, forcing researchers to work as quickly as possible to remove all the objects for study. At the time the tomb was created, the Neolithic settlement would have been about 1 mile further from the coast than it is now. Experts will now conduct analysis of the data gathered to the excavations in the hopes of providing more information about the Neolithic people and why they buried these stone spheres with their dead. Thanks for watching. Which one of these mysterious archaeological discoveries fascinated you the most? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like these. See you next time.